Imagine you're sitting at a fancy dinner table, your wife's boss's apartment, 3rd floor, nice place, and then you hear a thud. You look over and there is a raw steak slowly sliding down a crystal clear window, leaving a trail of bloody juice in its wake. And your husband is sitting there, plate completely empty, staring at you like a golden retriever who just knocked something off the counter. Y'all, we have to talk about this story. So here's the situation. This man's wife had just started a brand new job. Her boss, a lovely single woman in her 50s, invites them both over for dinner. Just the 3 of them. Intimate, fancy, high stakes. On the drive over, the wife is drilling it into his head. Make a good impression. Please, for the love of everything, make a good impression. And our guy, bless his heart, scoffs at her. He actually scoffs. He says, I always make good impressions. Honey, foreshadowing has entered the chat. They get there and things are going great. Chit-chat over drinks and salads. The boss is laughing at his jokes. The wife is finally starting to relax. Everything is going perfectly. Then the main course comes out. A big, beautiful steak for each of them. He cuts into his, and it is raw. Not rare, not medium rare, raw. He says he probably could have resuscitated the cow if he tried. That is how undercooked this steak was. Now, a normal person would quietly push it around their plate. A polite person would eat what they could and smile. A wise person would remember whose job is on the line here and just chew through it. But this man is not that man. He sits there fidgeting, running through options in his head. Can he fake being vegan? No, he already acted way too excited when the steak came out. Can he just not eat it? The boss would notice. And then the boss excuses herself to go check on dessert. He looks across the dining room. He sees the window of this 3rd floor apartment. And y'all, a cartoon light bulb appeared over this man's head. I need you to understand what he decided to do. He decided to throw his steak out the window. No, I'm not making this up. He grabbed that steak in his bare hand, gave it a little shake to get the juice off, because apparently presentation still matters when you're committing a crime, and he launched it, baseball style, straight across the dining room and into what he thought was an open window. It was not open. It was the cleanest window you have ever seen in your life. So clean you couldn't even tell there was glass there. That steak hit with a thud and then slowly slid down, leaving a trail of bloody raw steak juice the whole way. His wife, who had perfectly cooked medium rare steak and had no idea any of this was happening, turns around and just stares at him. She says the look on her face went from confused alien encounter to full-on there is no place on this planet you can hide from me demonic wife energy in about 3 seconds. And then they both heard footsteps. The boss was coming back. He tried to explain himself. He went on about being a klutz, tried to get his wife to back him up. She left him out to dry in absolute deafening silence. And then he had to clean the bloody window with a cloth napkin while muttering incoherent apologies to 2 women staring at him like he had completely lost his mind. And then he had to sit back down and eat every single bite of that cold, chewy, bloody, raw steak. The whole thing in silence. Because what else was he going to do? The wife's only 2 words to him for the rest of the evening and the entire car ride home? I'm fine. Oh, we all know what that means. Now, that's his version. He posted this story and it blew up on Reddit. But 2 years later, the wife showed up with her own account of that evening. And y'all, it adds so much more context. So from her perspective, she has been dreading this dinner for weeks. She knows her husband, she loves him, but she knows him. She describes him as sweet, but with a history of doing really dumb stuff without thinking about it first. She actually tried to get him uninvited. She told the boss she wasn't sure he could make it. The boss was dismayed and said, "Oh no, I have dinner for 3 all ready to go." So she had no choice. He had to come. They show up. Things start out great, and she's actually starting to relax for the first time. She's 2 bites into a deliciously cooked steak when something catches her eye in her peripheral vision. Something odd. She turns and looks at her husband, and she sees him holding his steak in his hand, hovering it just an inch or 2 above his plate. She is processing this image. She's trying to figure out what she is seeing, and before she can get a single word out of her mouth, he throws it, baseball style, across the room into the window. Now, and this is the part that really gets me, she says she's used to him doing dumb stuff, but it usually makes sense to her when she thinks about it. There's always some logic she can follow. This time, she was completely dumbfounded. She could not wrap her head around what had just happened. She just stared at him with the most confused look she'd ever had in her life, and he stared back at her with pure horror on his face. And then she heard the footsteps. She says she had one brief moment where she considered helping him. One. And then she thought, no. This is his dumb stuff bed, and he can lie in it. She watched him fumble through his excuse, tried to get her to back him up, and she just let the silence ring. Beautiful, deafening silence. She and the boss made an unspoken agreement to pretend he wasn't there for the rest of the evening, which honestly sounds like a completely reasonable response. It wasn't until they got to the car that he finally explained himself. Turns out he thought the window was open. He thought the window was open? He thought throwing his steak out a 3-story window was a perfectly reasonable solution to an undercooked meal. And she just had to sit with that information. Now, here's where it gets good. After he posted his version on Reddit, he got an update, a text from his wife while she was at work. And she said, and I'm quoting directly here, "Good news," insert the boss's name, "and I just had a good laugh over how much of a freaking idiot you are. I hope you know you will never live this down. Love you, you moron." That is a love story. That is true love right there. And she confirmed it in her post about a year later. The boss threw a Christmas party and everyone was invited. Everything was totally fine. Nobody got fired. The friendship survived. The steak, however, did not make it. Okay, but can we just sit with this for a second? Because I have so many questions. Like, first of all, what was the plan exactly? Just leave the steak on the 3rd floor window ledge forever? Did he think no one would notice? And the fact that he just had to sit back down and eat all of it, cold, chewy, raw, that is the justice I needed. He served himself that consequence on a silver platter, or I guess through a window. But honestly, reading both versions together, I love this couple. She called him a moron over text and signed it with love. That's the whole relationship right there. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in his shoes? Would you have eaten the raw steak, faked a stomachache? Or are you built like this man who looked at a perfectly clean window and saw an opportunity? I'll see you in the next one.